going to look at the hip flexors today and hip extensors, right? So you need a couch. You're going to do a couch stretch, so you're going to need a couch or a bench or something to elevate your foot on. So I'm going to use this bench, but you can use the couch if you want. It's the same idea. And what we're going to do is we're going to pop one foot up onto the bench or the couch and then drop the knee to the ground. All right. What you want to try and do as best as possible is to get this hip open. So we don't want to be in this position here where the hip is closed off. You see the angle of it? I want to try and get it as straight as I possibly can. And then we're going to hold this position. Now, while we hold, my bench is moving. While we hold the position, we're going to squeeze the glutes. So on this side, I'm going to try and engage the glute. I'm going to squeeze it and push into the hip a little bit more. Squeeze. Okay, I'm just going to squeeze and release. So squeeze and release. Squeeze and release. That's it. And we're doing this 10 times. So that's 7, 8, 9, 10. And before we go out then, I'm going to take my same, this is the left leg, so I'm going to take my left arm, put it up over my head, and then I'm going to lean to that side. Oh, yeah. So I'm just going to lean over to my right hand side, my left hand in the air. If you've got your right knee down, right hand goes up and lean to the left. Okay, I'll relax. I'm going to switch sides. So left leg comes off, right leg goes up. Get myself set, drop the knee to the ground, and then straighten up and try and open up that hip as much as I can. And then we go for 10. One thing I forgot to mention on the other side is you don't want your back arched in this position here, so try and pull your rib cage down. Try and more hollow out the lower back here rather than arch it, and then squeeze the glute. So just a squeeze and release. So just a nice easy stretch on the couch, on the hips, sorry. So obviously if you're doing this, you can do it on the couch with your knee on the floor, or you can do it in with your knee in the back of the couch with your foot up on the back of the headrest. That's a nice comfortable position. And this foot can be hanging off the couch or it can be up on the couch as well. So it's different ways to play around with it. Once you're feeling the stretch in the hip, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so I'm going to take my right hand now because I got my right knee on the floor. Bring it up over my head and then lean to my left. Okay. All right, so that's stretching out the hip flexor. The hip flexor does a lot of work for us. Anytime we bend over, we flex the hip essentially, so flexing the hip. I'm using that in a squat, I'm using it in a deadlift, I'm using it in any of them movement patterns, the hinge, the bend, or the knee dominant exercises, the hip is involved. So we want to make sure that we just get that hip out loose, especially as well if you do a lot of running. You're going to be lifting that leg and you're going to be flexing the hip a lot. So it's good to get a stretch. To finish off with this now, we're going to go for some glute bridges. So you want to stretch the muscle and then we want to activate the opposing muscle to strengthen the new position. So we've stretched out the front of the hip and we've extended that position and got it nice and loose. Now the opposite muscle, the glutes, then we want to use them to extend the hip to push into that range, right? Now what we don't want is that when we do a hip glute bridge that we just push up the hips as high as we can and my back is all arched in this position and my rib cage is flaring. So what I want to do is we're going to start with a pelvic tilt into a glute bridge and we're not going to worry about how high the hips go, and we're just going to try and get through as much hip extension as we can. So pelvic tilt, I'm going to tilt my pelvis this way to push my lower back into the ground, and as I'm continue to tilt the pelvis, abs engage and then drive the hips up, stay in that tilt of the pelvis. And you see that this is as high as my hips go because my hip flexors are tight and my glutes are pushing up as hard as I can. So I can get a good glute activation and I get my hip extension here. Keep in that tilted pelvis position as you lower down from the spine. So lower back comes in, then my hips come in, and then I'm going to extend the lower back. Come back in again, so push the lower back down, tilt the pelvis, engage the abs, squeeze and lift, and keep that tilted pelvis in there. Keep the abs engaged, keep pressing through the glutes as hard as you can to push into the hip flexors. And then lower back and hips come down. Extend. I'm just going to do 5 of these, that's 2. Tilt the pelvis, engage the abs, squeeze the glutes, push the hips up as high as you can while maintaining that pelvic tilt. Lower back, hips, extend. Lower back, tilt the pelvis, engage the abs, push the glutes. Extend, and last rep. Shouldn't have wore socks. Too slippy. Hard to get purchase on the ground. Okay, abs engaged. So I'm trying not to extend my lower back. My lower back is hollowed out. I've got my abs engaged, pelvis tilted. I'm driving the hips up as high as I can. And we're done for today.